Is there a slide? Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. Oh my God. So, hello everyone. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Did you enjoy your lunch? Yes, great. Are you fresh? Are you tired? Yeah, no, okay. Great. So let's restart the second part of the day. So today, as you saw, like this morning, we had a morning much more focused on active citizenship, but now we'll continue with these sessions concerning the future of the Erasmus Plus program. And to make it dynamic, I promise it's one of the last slides we will do. But I would like to ask you, how do you envision the future of the Erasmus Plus program? So you can join here at this Slido. And let me know if it works, of course. If thumbs up, down, let me know. Okay. You can also be pessimistic, optimistic. We want to see how diverse this auditorium is. So we have focus on higher education, higher quality mobility, more money, more opportunities, more focus on employability, inclusive, expansion, depends on the election results. This is very nice. Which actually, yeah, we've been talking about this during the morning. Inclusive 2 times. Even more accessible, very nice. More funding, bigger, sufficient financial support, credit recognition, difficult, but we can do it. Blended intensive programs should be more well-known. Very nice, very interesting. Equal opportunities for all, simpler. Oh, I see you have quite a bunch of ideas. Huh? I think you will like the second part of the day. Higher financial support of Green Erasmus. Countries' re-entry into Erasmus+. Well, we've been talking about this also during our meeting this weekend, about how can we empower the youth in order to make changes and actually to shape the policies. And we have also very good examples from some of our countries in ESN. Global opportunities, better grants, beneficiary model working, okay. No visa issues, app. Are you mentioning the Erasmus Plus app? Maybe, some of you? Okay. Very nice, this. Cities being more welcoming spaces for international students and people from different backgrounds. So, well, I see you that the majority of you are maybe hopeful, and maybe, like as we always say in ESN, we try to make changes with what we want to advocate for more mobility, but also better mobility, and we will try to discuss this during all next today's session. As talking, for example, taking away something concerning green and talking about travel, we will have now a presentation from Ayberk Yavuz, the treasurer of ESN International, who will talk about the next steps of the cooperation between ESN and eRail. An applause for Ayberk.
Okay. Better with this when it's open. Okay, yes, amazing. So I know after lunch and everything, but I think we have very interesting topic here that we are trying to make some change in the mobility scheme and also the green travels, and ESN is trying to adjust all the things happening around the global network, and we are supporting that as much as possible. I am Ayberk, and I will be presenting you today the ESN and EU Rail cooperation. I think we are opening a new phase in traveling, and we are also supporting this matter a lot in our network for you to be able to have greener travels, make this green travel more accessible and also more logical for the budget-friendly options. So, what is this thing? It's an Interrail Global Pass with the Erasmus Plus program, and it is dedicated to the needs of Erasmus Plus participants, the students, the interns, and if necessary, if they agree with that, also for the staff members. And then, as Jules Caesar says, first of all, you need to define and divide and conquer. We are also defining, understanding, and solving our problems. We are following his mentality as well. So, what is the background of this issue? The background is every year we are having over 400,000 high education students and staff from across Europe traveling constantly for their mobilities. And then, what is the problem here? Currently, 75% of Erasmus Plus international students travel to their host countries by plane. And this is the source from ESN Green Erasmus survey in 2022. We can also share with you all the sources about it. And then what is the opportunity here if we have the problem? Because we never look at the problems like our maze or the dead end. We are actually looking for the solutions that can make this beautiful for the people having this problem. So we see this opportunity of funding rules which Erasmus Student Network is advocating for long years. And it has resulted in increasing rail travel support in the grants and the funding scheme. And this as a last step, we will be increasing the things even more and also making this Erasmus Plus Interrail Pass possible with the EU Rail. What about the timeline? Because we need to be very clarified in this situation. We started talking about the issue in 2022, and we said that why not we can force the train in Erasmus? And we joined the forces to launch a call asking for a ticket, adapting this into the Erasmus Plus program participants. And then in 2023, we have started working together with Interrail passes for the Erasmus Plus participants. Now in 2024 and this year, we are trying to publish this and try to have students having this package and the possibility in the upcoming months. And what about this thing in the nutshell? I would like to introduce you the thing even more clearer so you can understand what we are doing in this situation. Interrail Global Pass is a global pass valid for limited number of the days within the 6 months of period, which will be covering their mobility time. And then participants can use a travel fund, not only to travel from their host country, then from their home country, the host country, but also the ones surrounding their mobilities, plus within the country they are doing their mobility. And then the price will be fitting into the grant scheme and their fundings, so they will not have the problem of choosing the plane because it is a more logical option, more choosable and a budget-friendly option. So the third thing is the price going to be very important for the students. And then the pass will be made to available to all Erasmus Plus participants on interrail.eu. And this will be a strong platform which will be connected with also our platforms. Then they will be having the benefits as much as possible and as accessible as possible. What about the next steps? Of course, while we are trying to do the job, we are also taking care of the feedbacks, understanding what is exact needs about the topic, and trying to find the solutions from the audience, which will be benefiting from this. So you need to let us know what you are interested about, what do you think about this, and what can be improved in order to make this more quality and more accessible for you, because you are the ambassadors of the Erasmus generation. And then you have to spread the word for us to be able to push this green travel even more and make it more accessible. And the word will create the strength, and the strength will create the impact. The impact will give us more green travel. And ESN is trying to do this as much as possible in a most impactful way. Thank you very much. This is, of course, not a topic that I can close in this short time frame, but we just wanted to introduce you this perfect initiative in this small meeting, which will be coming with the news in the future. So let us know if you can, if we can do something better for you, and thank you very much for the listening.
Okay, great. So maybe we have already some ideas about the future of the Erasmus Plus program. Before we were saying green, accessible. Maybe here we have, after the presentation now, you've got even more ideas. So continuing to this thought about the future of the Erasmus Plus program, we will go a bit more in depth thinking about also the program, the changes concerning the program guide, and also concerning the people who will be involved in the future of the Erasmus Plus program. I will introduce you now Michael Teutsch, who is the head of the Unit B4 from the Erasmus Plus Coordination DG EAC. They will talk to us about the roadmap of the future of the Erasmus Plus program. Thank you so much.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here and for the welcome. Very happy to be here and to get to know many of you, because when I'm in this function I've just been introduced that I've had, I'm really very happy that I could start in this work since the 1st of December, so it's rather recent. So I'm really happy about the new thing, and it's really great to have the opportunity to speak to you also on the work that we have here. It's actually quite an important moment. 2024 is an important moment for Erasmus, in the sense that, as you've said, I mean, we're in the middle of implementing the program, where we have sort of solved some of the teething problem. Not everything is perfect, but I mean, it's on cruising speed, the current program. We're in the middle of it, and we already start thinking of what's ahead of us. So how do we do that? We're in the middle at the moment of carrying out an evaluation. So if you want to go ahead in the future, of course, it's good to first have a look what actually works, what does not work, what things can be improved. So this year we are having a midterm evaluation of the current program, covering sort of the years from 21 to today. We're also looking at the last program generation that we had beforehand, to see a bit, are there any things to learn also from that? Have we achieved what we're doing? And based on that, this year at some moment we should start thinking of proposals. It looks quite a long time away, the program is until 2027 still, but the way we are working, it's in financial frameworks over years. It is that the European Union big finance package will be presented in the middle of 2025, so, which means that once we know also the finance, we have to know have to know quite precisely what we want to propose for the next program generation as of 2028, which means that in the coming 1.5 years we are working on the proposal for the future generation. As I said, the first thing we are going to do, and that's mainly what I'm going to talk to you about, is a bit the impressions we have and the feedback we get from the Commission as to how the current program works. And we've done lots of work trying to listen to our stakeholders, to yourselves, to see where has the program been successful, where does it need to improve. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit the process, how we do this. And by the way, also big thanks for the contributions we've already achieved. We've achieved a wonderful paper from ESN here with very detailed proposals already, and then some ideas. I'm going to, secondly, apart from the process, going to give you some impressions of the first feedback we have received from stakeholders. I cannot yet give you the ideas of the Commission. That's a bit too early. But I mean some impressions of what we are told that we can share. So first of all, a bit on the evaluation. I mean, maybe it's not that. It's a bit legal. It's a bit technical. It could look a bit bureaucratic, but it's actually quite scientific. I mean, we don't do like we know that we love the program. It works well. It's quite a sophisticated process we have to do. And we are doing in order to collect ideas, first of all, because of course there's lots of money involved in all this. So the legislator, the European Parliament and the Council have asked us to do this evaluation, and that's a bit the things they tell us. I mean, what we should check. So first of all, while no rocket science here, do we achieve what we actually promised in this proposal? I mean, do we do the mobility? Do we bring people together? And also a bit more also not just are people mobile? We also say, does it actually help their learning? Do they become more engaged in society? Is it better for their jobs? So that's also the sort of second level of questions that we're asking. That's behind these sort of a bit bureaucratic words, which are like, what's the effectiveness of the programs? What's the performance? We also look a bit at some big new things. The most best known, perhaps, is the European University Alliances, which is very well known, particularly for you. We have Centers of Vocational Excellence, Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies, and some other so big headline activities that were launched with this program generation. Inclusion, also pretty important. I think you've also mentioned it, I mean, just in the start, that, and of course, also the legislator, the European Parliament, has really asked us very, very strongly to make big efforts to make sure that Erasmus is actually available for all students, whatever the payroll and education of their parents is. So this is something we should look at, and some issues of simplification. So it's actually quite a nice set, an important set of issues we really have to look at in terms of, does the program actually achieve what it's supposed to achieve. You mentioned, where's I gone? You mentioned green travel here. So it's also among the objectives is also to look at, can our program contribute to some specific policy objectives and priorities of the European Union, and there the climate objectives are mentioned, the Jean Monnet are mentioned because of their contribution to the European Union integration process and to our working together for democracy. And last but not least, we all know that the program has in the last years gone through difficult times because our world has gone through difficult times. We've all gone through COVID. We're currently witnesses and showing solidarity with the terrible war in our neighborhood. In Ukraine, we have had to react to this. So one of the questions we've also asking, has this program that we plan the best we can also shown a possibility to react and to do what it's supposed to do also under very difficult circumstances? So that's a bit the overall very, very broad questions. I hope it was not too long, but I think it's a bit, I really wanted to explain this a little bit, really to show it's not just this, we were doing a program and is it fine, but we really have big ambitions, and then we have to have a look at if we are able to go along with these ambitions. Ambitious evaluation question makes quite a long process. Just to give you a very quick overview, we actually started already in the middle of last year, the year before last year, 2022, with a call for evidence, many consultation activities. I come back to that. And we're now at this phase looking at first feedback that we received on these consultation activities with the idea to come up with the final results of this evaluation in 2024. Some more details on the different parts of it. I mean, we've done, first of all, a very broad public consultation. I mean, publication on the websites of the European Commission. Any person in Europe, in the world, could reply to a number of questions. What do they think of this program? Does it work? What are the strengths, weaknesses? Replying to some questions. We've received some 1,243, I think was it exactly, contributions. Mainly from organizations, and that's why it says there are 20% of EU citizens. The rest comes from organizations, academic institutions, government response, and so on. If you want to have a look at the results of these outcomes, you can find them on the Commission website. So this was just a survey put on the website. Anybody, please reply. We've also then done targeted consultations of people that are particularly sort of interested, have a particular role in the Erasmus program. I mean, the people I'm talking about here is, of course, it's beneficiaries, it's people that have participated, it's learner of staff, It's people working in the national agencies which sort of implement the program. It's experts who are assessing proposals. So that's people who are real, have had lots of experience with actually implementing, administering the program. You see here 200 interviews with stakeholders, a number of case studies, again, with the idea to get some, really detailed feedback. I should say, also to be completely honest, when I got the figures of the public consultation, sorry to go a step backward, 1,243, is that a lot? Is it not so much? It's not bad, but it's also not so fantastic either. We've looked at these people and seen that everybody who has replied, most people were people who have been engaged with the program. So it's really experts who know the program very well, who've participated in the public consultations. We haven't been able to reach sort of the general public, so we haven't been able to reach my mother and your parents and so on. So, but I mean, we have reached people who know the program pretty well. Okay, so public consultation, targeted consultations of specialists, and then a few special things where we try to do some specific studies on specific topics like how does it contribute to skills development, employability, and EU values, where we actually try to also do some literature studies, some simulations, actually some behavioral experiments, is it what our researchers tell us, and also try to do an experiment where they try to say what is it actually, can we find some people who have participated, some have not participated, and why is this so? So what are remaining barriers to participation that we're trying to work on, and to get the feedback also for those who are not in the program to see why they've not participated, and also in that group some people who are a bit more privileged and others who are disadvantaged in order to get some feedback. And last but not least, of course, we get national reports from the member states and from who are implementing the program for us. Again, sorry for being long on this, but just to show you that we take it very seriously, to have a look at what this is. It is very important, and because simply it's a legal obligation, but you can imagine that in the current situation, I mean, the money is always short. But I mean, we simply need, for any program that has a substantial budget like this one, of course, we have to do it. And the better this is, the more convincing we will also be politically afterwards when we tell our politicians, you're talking about equity, yes, please, let's do something in Erasmus. You're talking about the future labor market, you're talking about democracy, we contribute to this. And we are not saying it because we believe it, we can actually show it in our studies. And that's why this, apologies, and that's why this study is a bit, is quite a comprehensive one. Okay, so that's a bit about the methodology. A few words actually on the results. So here, as I said, coming back, who participated in the public consultations. As I said, citizens about a bit more than a fifth, almost a quarter. But I mean, the big bulk then you can see here in the blue, it's the academic research organizations, NGOs, 12%, public authorities, 8%, and so on. So quite a broad mix of feedback that we have, and please have a look to yourself on our website for more details. What have they actually said? That's a bit of the last part, and maybe the most interesting of what we have. I mean, more generally speaking, I think those who replied, as I say, it's people who are mainly active in the program, and they are participants of the programs. They are overall very, very happy the way the program is structured at the moment. That means the questions of the key actions that we have, so supporting mobility for learners and for staff, ideas of, let's say, that we also get money in our hands to make education institutions work together. The question is that we have these horizontal priorities of supporting digital, green, inclusion, and democratic participation. That's also something that received very positive feedback. So overall, And I think that's also a bit, I mean, you tell me afterwards if I'm wrong or not. Again, big thanks for the contribution from ESN. It's a bit also, we got from you quite a lot of comments to say that we're looking at carefully, but overall we're not going to propose to put it all upside down based, if we follow the feedback that we have received so far. In particular, what is also, of course, quite interesting for us to see, it's all fine that we have this Erasmus program. We are very proud of it. But actually, what would happen if we just say from today to tomorrow we stop it? I mean, the consultation says that we really have a problem. It really has an EU added value because many of the people who currently benefit from Erasmus would not have any other possibilities through national programs and so on to do it. Otherwise, we get very positive feedback when it comes to feedback for the individuals who participate, but also for the organizations. Maybe in higher education, I don't know, it's a bit more developed, but I think it's really important also. In higher education has done a long travel on this. In vocational education for schools, it's a bit lagging behind in that regard. But if, for example, the vocational education, the businesses that also sometimes work with higher education, with vocational education training, if they tell us we get a better international perspective, if the schools also become more international, that's something that is really interesting, of course, to say as a driver for the further development of these organizations. And last but not least, it's good because it's fun, but it also actually it is a sign of better learning and of making things change a bit to the better. It's what people say, that through this project they've learned and they've got new ideas that have helped them to be innovative, which is why we claim that indeed this program has an EU added value. We need the European Union to continue this program and to actually strengthen it. Okay, that's a bit the feedback's result. Then the European Parliament has just very recently adopted a resolution on how they see the program. How does it work? Which is of course really interesting because the Parliament, of course, they have decided together with the Council this program a few years back, and they want to ensure that it works well. And they will be the ones who decide also on the future program. So they are following quite systematically what we're doing. It was really good also to discuss with them and to see what in the light of the European Parliament and the members is going well and should be improved. So that's a bit the last big source that we have at the moment. Here again, it's a bit similar to what we hear from many of the stakeholders, and of course it's mainly also because members of Parliament have listened also themselves to many stakeholder organizations. They also say the general structure seems to work well. The priorities are the right ones. We are really using the budget fully. It's actually oversubscribed, as we all know. We could easily use much more money if we had it. Quite some positive feedback from their side also on Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies, Centers of Vocational Excellence, European University Alliances on flexibility. So these are the broad evaluation questions. The parliamentarians are quite happy with this. And then there, of course, as someone working in the Commission, I say, oof. If those who control me, at least they say overall it goes right, that's not too bad. Of course, then they come with many things to be improved further. We all know, and I think some of you had also mentioned it here on the Slido issue. I mean, I want BM to work correctly. I think the beneficiary model work well. I mean, the IT landscape has been quite a headache for some years now. We're really getting there, but of course this has to still be improved further and should not be repeated in the future. The issues we've had during the last years, there's always lots of scope still to be done for simplification in the application process and also in grant agreements, and of course also something I mentioned before, very important for the Parliament, further work to reach out to those who are disadvantaged. Here they were a bit more specific, in particular for longer periods. I mean, we've become better for shorter mobility periods, but also for longer ones. What do they want for the future? three things we've put here is is really the idea first to use sort of synergies and possibilities to strengthen Erasmus also by better cooperation with other European Union tools. That's the social fund, notably, or also the research program Horizon. Pretty difficult to put in practice, easy on paper, it's in our regulations. On practice, it's a bit difficult because basically at the end of the day, most of the time our experience is that everybody is sort of trying to protect their budget and why should I give money away from the research program or from ESF to somewhere else if I can, then I don't control, it's not mine anymore. This sort of bureaucratic divisions, of course, they are there. We have a few good examples where money has been transferred to Erasmus from the social fund or from research, but it could be much more. Very important for the Parliament to do more on democratic participation, defending EU values, and I think this is really important if you look around the world, if we look in our countries across Europe. It's of course extremely important because we see democracy being challenged in almost all EU member states and from outside. So it's really worth taking up that fight, and the program can contribute to this, and it's really important for the European Parliament. And last but not least, very encouraging message from the Parliament that they would support tripling of the budget over the next period. So that's a bit the Parliament view, which for us, I mean, for you to make up your mind, but it's also quite an encouraging picture in the sense that they really like the program, they push us to become better, to do more, but really big support for the future. And for the future, I close with this big thanks for your feedback already done now as part of the evaluation, but really continue doing that. We will do further consultations after the evaluation when we are further advanced in the preparation of the program. After 2024, we have to do in our jargon, it's called an impact assessment. We'll do a proposal which we'll then have to explain, and we are very much looking forward for your further feedback and input for the future program to us, but also please to ministers in the countries and the European Parliament, because that's those who will at the end of the day take the decision and decide on the money, which is also quite important for what we can do in the future. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward now to listen to the panel that you will have. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this presentation, and we can assure you, at least on behalf of ESN, that we will continue giving all the possible feedbacks and join all the consultations, because I think that, well, we arrived till this point today because actually we managed to join all the conversations concerning Erasmus+. We always stated our opinion, sometimes also complaining a little bit, but actually this is what Erasmus+ makes the Erasmus+ one of the biggest and the most important programs of the European Union. Now we will go and we will talk a little bit more deeper about this topic, and we will have this panel discussion about the future is Erasmus, and I will ask to come on stage Rita Diaz, the moderator of this panel. A big applause for Rita.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. I hope that the lunch was good and you had time to mingle also with each other and get to know each other a bit better. So I will now call my very beautiful panelists to the stage, and I also hope that you like my t-shirt. It goes according to the theme. So we are now launching this very beautiful campaign that also Wim will also speak after a bit more. So I really sorry for if I pronounced any name incorrectly, and I really apologize for my incorrect pronunciation. But first I would like to call Johannes from the European Commission, from DG AC. He's the policy officer in the Higher Education Unit. Thank you, Johannes, and welcome to this panel. A big applause for Johannes. Secondly, I would like to call Geese. Fantastic. Whew. I'm relieved now. Executive Secretary of the Light Alliance. By the way, for the ones that don't know here, the European Alliance is one of the pioneer initiatives of the European Commission at the moment, so we are very lucky to actually have Geese with us here to actually showcase more about this very important initiative that we at the moment having. Secondly, we actually have a fellow Portuguese with me, Catarina. Please join us in the stage. She's the Policy and Communication Officer of the Coimbra Group. So this name was very easy for me to pronounce. And then also from UF, from our colleagues in the room upstairs, I have Katarina Sproch. And Katrina is also the Policy and Research Officer. So it's a panel of policy officers. So we are surrounded by policy experts here. And to finalize, we have a fellow ESN, and I'm so happy to welcome Gökay, the president of ESN Turkey, with us. And Gökay is actually the president of Turkey, but he's also giving us the full perspective of the non-EU countries in Erasmus+. So thank you so much, Gökay, for joining us and to giving the ESN perspective and the non-EU countries. And I'm sorry I have to stay here. I'm sorry if I cannot join you, but the table doesn't allow me to join you. So I hope that you can have a fruitful discussion, even though I'm not that close. Maybe I can use this microphone. It's on? Yes? Okay. Okay, oh, very loud. Okay, incredible. So thank you so much for joining me and joining all the panelists here on the stage. So I will start with you, Ioannis. So the first question is about your role in the European Commission. How is the European Commission perspective and recognize the significant presence of young people in our audience? Could you elaborate on the midterm process of the Erasmus Plus program? Additionally, how can young people actively contribute to enhancing and improving the program? I think it's working.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much for inviting us, giving us the chance to present the higher education, Erasmus higher education perspective. You've already heard the outline from Michael Teutsch on the evaluation, the official evaluation process of the current and the past Erasmus Plus program. And I'm bringing in the perspective of higher education since we work on the classic Erasmus scheme. And I think, first of all, I would like to say we have like 2 full calendar years of implementation of the current program behind us. And we can see there's already a very good progress in terms of the overarching priorities and the international dimension. We can say that while Erasmus is progressing, it's becoming more inclusive, more digital, more sustainable, and also more international. So that's very positive. And actually we are in a constant listening mode, I have to say, with our different stakeholders, because we have different working groups. And in this sense, it's very important that while we have consultations with our stakeholders, with the student organizations like ESN, the ESU, that are part of our higher education mobility working group, for example, that we activated last year again. Then of course, we meet our other major stakeholders like national agencies, European university alliances, university networks, and other stakeholders. And so for the next program phase, of course, we have also started the process at our level when it comes to higher education, mobility, higher education, the higher education program. But I also want to say that since we have a constant dialogue with our stakeholders and we are in constant listening mode, there is already a current change going on. That is for the upcoming academic year, what we call 2024. We'll have a major change, positive change for higher education students, but also staff in the program, in the sense that we will channelize the travel support for higher education students. That means that the average student grant will, probably increase, let's say, maybe by 15%, because now we provide a travel support to the students based on the travel distance band, for example, but we also increase the number of funded travel days for long-term students, And we made it easier to organize blended intensive programs that really benefit the students that, first of all, well, can learn something totally new that they may not learn during the regular curriculum, but also it allows for students that cannot be away from home too long, like because they have caring responsibilities or they have a job or for other inclusion needs. So this is much easier. It's been already a successful activity that we introduced in 21, the blended intensive programs, to foster blended mobility. But we guess with the new facilitation, fewer requirements, it will be even easier to organize it, to take part in it. So, the program is constantly trying to adapt, and because we get the feedback from the ground, we get feedback from our direct student stakeholders, and this is also the point I wanted to make. Students, young people, can participate in the process, not only in the official process that we have, that Michael Teutsch has outlined with the different consultations where we ask the beneficiaries, the students that take part, but we will have further consultations with our stakeholders, including student organizations, and so young people can actually talk to their local and national sections of ESN, of student unions, and make their voice heard. And secondly, of course, as it was mentioned already a number of times today, and also how to facilitate it, that's to vote, not only in the upcoming European Parliament elections, but also in the national elections, because the next program, as the previous program, is decided by the co-legislator, the co-budget authority, the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union, which is Council of Member States. So it's also important to influence the outcomes of the national elections. That's also important. And I would even say that if somebody's very motivated, they can also write to their local representatives or national members of parliament or the European members of parliament. So there are still lots of possibilities to influence it. And one shouldn't forget, we will eventually work on a framework of a new program that is discussed by the Council and the Parliament, that is submitted by the Commission next year to the Council and Parliament. But this is just a general framework. If you look at the Erasmus Plus regulation, you don't see that many details. The details are hammered out over the years before we start the next programming period. And there are still many possibilities of having an impact on the details of how the program will look, the rules will look, and so, yeah, there's still lots of possibilities to make the voice heard.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to summarize a bit what was mentioned by Johannes. So there is several opportunities for students to participate. One of them, for example, is the travel support that now is going to be implemented by the European Commission that will increase the grants of the students. Also, for example, participating in blended intensive formats, the BIPs that are now also to be strengthened, but also the new framework that is now to be implemented with the new voting in the Parliament, that also, if people vote in the next European elections, of course, that we hope that there will be more money for the program for the next framework for the new program. So now I pass to Katarina. The Coimbra Group has a key role in representing the university's perspective, and actually some of the sections are actually actively part of the Coimbra Group, and actively contributed to the midterm review process. What, in your opinion, are the active developments of this program edition, and what are the improvements do you believe are necessary?
Thank you, and thank you also for the invitation to be here. We're very happy to be here, and I wanted to start by saying that in the Coimbra Group is a network of 40 European universities, some of the oldest, most traditional, comprehensive, research-intensive universities, and we take pride in having been the test bed for Erasmus. So we were born in 1985, and we did some mobilities before even the Erasmus program existed. So we like to say we were kind of a test bed for them. Also nowadays we see in our 40 universities, about 16% of all Erasmus mobilities are either to or from the Coimbra Group universities. In this midterm review, we did a general evaluation of the Erasmus program, specifically through our Academic Exchange and Mobility Working Group, which is made out of international offices and vice-rectors for internationalization. And most of our conclusions, we are very happy that the program exists, and we recognize all the added value that the Erasmus program has brought to Europe and to students in general. But we still complain about the burden, the administrative burden for the universities, as a classical complaint. The appearance of the alliances didn't help also, although it is a very good initiative and we are supporting our members that are involved in alliances. 35 out of our 40 are involved in alliances. But this has meant a lot of effort from the resource, from the human resources. We also outlined in our midterm review for Erasmus the need for an increase in the support for green mobility, sustainability, which I think the Commission is taking into account. Also, we outline the synergies that need to exist between research and education, so between research, the DG EAC and the research, and the connection to other programs for higher education and research. And we focus also recently more on the European values. We think that this is a key aspect for the future of Europe, and we also have a project now going on with ESN International based on the development and the increase of this European spirit, the values of democracy, inclusion. They seem to us very important at this stage, and we should focus on this for the next program. And I think for now, that's a bit of what we wrote in our midterm review.
Thank you so much. I actually read the midterm review. It's very interesting, and I'm also very curious to hear actually what the European alliances also have to say after about this administrative burden, but we will go there in a bit. Now I pass to Katrina to also give the other part of the university perspective, more on the project's perspective. I know that UF is working in very different projects, and I know that, for example, you, Katrina, you are working in a very interesting project regarding the funding for Erasmus+. You would like to tell us a bit more about this very interesting project?
Yes, thank you, Rita, and thank you for the question, inviting us to be part of this event and this discussion. And indeed, EUF as university network, our first and foremost priority is the mobility and how to enhance it and how to assure that everyone has access to it, and how can we make it even better. And if we're talking about products, I could probably take a couple of hours here on stage talking about different improvements that we could make. But if we're talking specifically about a removal of financial barriers, indeed, there is a project that is soon coming to an end, actually, towards the end of this year. And in a few weeks, you should be seeing also the report with some very interesting ideas and explanations how to do it in Erasmus for All. But here we're trying to break the preconceptions that we're having about how we're applying the grants for students and how the current system is working, and trying to see what are the needs of the students and what are the ways that we can assure that no student is left behind, that their financial needs whilst they are on mobility are satisfied, that they can afford, regardless of the combination of home city and the destination city, that the financial aid that they are receiving through the program is sufficient to cover at least the basic financial aspects of the mobility. And even though the program does say that it's the contribution towards the extra costs, we're a bit fuzzy on the definition, what is going into those additional costs and what is understood with that. And if we're looking at the current way that this is being calculated, we are seeing that those students who are well enough off. They can afford that, or those who can qualify for fewer opportunities. They might be more inclined to still be able to participate, but we are seeing so many students falling through the different cracks and gaps that they just cannot even imagine being part of the mobility experience. And through that, we're also looking a bit further and understanding what are the gaps that we need to close. There is a lot more to be explored, and there is a very dire need for evidence-based policies in this, and large-scale European data is necessary for us to see what are the backgrounds of those students who belong to the mobile student community, and who are those who are not even considering this, and how to compare, and what are the characteristics of those students who cannot afford to go. And this is also another area in the projects that we are trying to see and how to solve this. But when we look at the current program and what are the different developments, Johannes already mentioned the travel support. We are looking very cautiously at that, and to what extent we are going to see full implementation of that and students benefiting from this. We are hearing from different national agencies and education institutions that this is still, they're very hesitant in implementing, and there are a lot of doubts and uncertainties on how this is going to happen. And whilst if there is enough additional funding, and that it's not coming from the grants themselves, this is additional money coming in, this would be a welcome change. But with the hesitation we're seeing, we are very cautious to see how this is going to develop and how the next mobilities who are going to be then embarking on the opportunities in autumn, how that is going to change. And I could probably talk on for a lot longer, unless you allow me to embark a bit deeper into different topics, or we're short on time.
No, we are not short on time, but I think we can stay from here, and then maybe you can hear some questions of the audience. Yep. Maybe you are a bit curious about your project, and maybe we also, Johannes, have something to say about the travel support implementation. Also, we have Michael in the audience. Maybe Michael can also give a bit more detail about that. But maybe we also can hear Gökay and speak about also the perspective of the students and also the non-European students. So we are very curious to hear from you. So from your perspective, from President of ESN Turkey, what should be improved to ensure mobility opportunities for students outside of Europe, and what was already accomplished?
Okay, firstly, I would like to thank a lot to every one of you for including me here as well for the non-European Union perspective. And after hearing all the initiatives, I'm actually really hyped and excited to share my opinions as well for the Turkish students or for the non-European students. And thank you, Rita, for the invitation, especially. So what I would like to say, firstly, is that I believe personally that the European Union values are actually the values that do not apply only for European Union, but they are actually global values. And we can definitely feel this, even though we are from a non-European Union country. All the students, the Erasmus students, or all the volunteers that we have in our country, I would say, are definitely believing in the impact of these values, and they would like to contribute a lot. But in order to do that, we have to talk about some certain steps, but I will go with some personal examples first. So when I was doing my Erasmus in Czech Republic, at the end of the Erasmus, we had this talk with the other students, and we were saying what changed in our life, what did we learn about Erasmus, and what is the impact of it on us. And at the end, we were saying actually the borders are just on the paper. People are saying they feel the same, they feel the emotions, they share the same values, and at the end we are not different from each other, no matter what our background is. And I think this is really valuable because we can definitely say that, especially when we think about the Erasmus program, education is the main concept that unites us. And I can definitely feel that, especially when we do any ESN events or when we are joining any ESNer meetings or conferences. I can feel that we are so united, as it's written there, it's united in diversity, one of the most common EU values, and this is so important. So I believe that it should be apart from the borders, like the political or geographical borders. Mobility is a brave, actually, it's a brave journey. When an Erasmus student wants to go abroad, they have to deal with the housing issues, loss of paper, financial issues that we are talking about right now, and we have to deal with so many uncertainties in our heads that at the end some people do not even apply for Erasmus because they're like, oh, it's too much and I don't want to go. And I face so many problems like that. But when you look from a non-EU perspective, there's one more thing that is killing you actually, and it's the visa issues, unfortunately. I'm not talking about the normal travel visas or touristic whatever, but I'm just talking about the educational perspective. If it's about a mobility program, and if a person has to collect 20, 30 papers about his family's, bank situations or his personal background, or I don't know, there are so many different papers that you have to collect at the end. We were talking during the day that students are facing these problems of bureaucracy. It becomes 10 times harder. And this is the main important thing that somehow demotivates and keeps non-EU students from joining the mobility, from adding up to it, from being encouraged to give the insights. And this is, I think, the most important thing that we have to focus. Of course, I have some other topics as well. For example, in my case, I waited 60 days for getting my visa, 60 days for my Erasmus. And the amount of uncertainty was so bad that I spent so much money on changing the flight tickets. I was like going crazy. My family was bankrupting, and I wasn't sure if I can actually go or not. I was about to cancel. If I did, it was right before COVID. I could never know. I would never have the chance to go again, maybe. I'm glad I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So the chance should be given to the people. But there are, of course, policies of the countries, and it's not easy to change. But I believe that in the European Union, if there is a joint policy that is applied to the mobility students, the Erasmus students, it will be way better. I don't know, it could be an e-visa, or it could be some ways of decreasing the numbers of the papers, or of course, when you are just saying to the countries like, hey, we are suggesting that you give some priority to the Erasmus students, it's amazing, it's such a nice step, but at the end it's not compulsory. So I think a legally bonding issue will be way better to help students go abroad easier. And other than that, before I came here, I had some meetings with my ESNers to see what were their problems before going to Erasmus. When they were at the end, finally able to go. I'm not saying they cannot go at all. They can, but it takes such a long time, and visa is such a big problem. And if you're not in this situation, you cannot really feel the responsibility on your shoulders. But after they have gone, they have faced, like when they were buying the transportation cards, the prices were cheaper for the European Union students, and they had to pay actually the full price. Or for the residence permits, they had to deal with, again, so many paperwork that they couldn't even travel in Europe or start traveling in Europe because sometimes it didn't let them to. And also they were asking maybe if more countries, like program countries in Asia or in other places, will be added. It will be maybe easier for them if the visa issues are not, solvable. They can go somewhere else, because at the end it's about widening your horizon, and it's about the values that you can take further with you, and it's all about the experience. As Mr. Geringer in the beginning suggested, Erasmus is becoming more inclusive, and it's becoming bigger, it's becoming more international. And I believe that when it's becoming more international, of course the European Union perspective is really important, but at the same time, at some points we have to look from the other side as well to make it match and make it more equal and more inclusive. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for giving your time.
Thank you very much, Gokay, and thank you very much for your perspective as an EU citizen. Like, there is many things that, and now as president of ESN, I've been traveling outside of Europe, and there is so many things that I don't realize now as a new citizen that I'm only realizing now when I go outside of Europe. And thank you for bringing your perspective towards the table, because there is so many things that don't realize. only when you are in your skin. So now I pass to our last panelist, that actually the European University Alliance are not only for EU countries, so you actually are doing a bit of a convergence here. So Guys, tell us a bit about the European Alliance initiative. So it's been one of the most successful initiatives developed through this program initiative, but unfortunately the future of the alliance is a bit uncertain. Of course that we really want to keep the alliances. In your vision, what must be done to ensure the sustainability of the alliances in the future?
That's a whole lot.
We could do a whole conference about that,
yeah.
I know.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give an inside alliance perspective. So I'm here to represent Enlight, which is one of many alliances nowadays. We are an alliance of 10 universities from all corners of Europe. We were among the happy few to be selected under the pilot phase and now entering a second 4-year phase, designing new courses and creating an open, stimulating study environment is one of our key actions. In that respect, we should say that alliances, and that's very important, another goal in itself. We approach them as a vehicle to really reduce the barriers, the many barriers I heard here, to reduce the barriers for international education. Classic mobility, where there's a whole variety of forms beyond that. And of course, the European tools are very important. We do not try to reinvent the wheel here. When talking about the future of alliances, it would be very tempting to talk again about funding and asking for more funding. But the situation is more complex than that. There's more dimensions to it. I will focus here on the education dimension, mobility dimension. But to at least say something about the funding and the context we're operating in, of course, we're working on the classic Erasmus Plus project. This was a very important project because it allowed us to mobilize professors, but also students around new educational concept, new courses, new ways of mobility. Blended intensive program was mentioned, very happy with that. But of course, in a project which comes with limited funding, which is by definition limited in time, it's very hard to really make structural plans and to really create or recreate and improve the conditions in which this mobility happens. And that means making serious IT investments, really aligning in depth the student administrations, for instance. Although we have taken steps, but you cannot expect us in 3 years to change the whole world. That's impossible. But actually, the key to sustain our alliance is really within our universities ourselves. Throughout the pilot, we could really rely on a dedicated but small community of professors, of students who were willing and open to develop these new courses, interdisciplinary courses, challenge-based courses, who really want to test this new blended intensive program, install online tracks, really turn upside down the courses that we are used to. Students who were willing to be part of those courses, who really were willing to test short mobility tracks, brand new courses, summer programs, online courses, you name it. We're at a critical point here as a relatively young phenomenon to reach out these broader communities of both professors and students. We need professors to really pick up the tools we developed and apply them in their courses. We really need our Enlight student network, not only to monitor the student interests, but also promote the course opportunities that we developed to their broader communities of peers. Professors, students are really the motor of our alliance. Without them, there is no education content. There's no lively, dynamic alliance where people go and study, back and forth between the partners. That said, and I'm going to pick on 2 points that Johannes told about being adaptive, adapting the Erasmus programs to our needs. Well, in Enlight, a very important aspect is boosting the mobility, but not just in quantity, but creating a better mobility experience and creating more mobility opportunities which are adapted to each student individual needs, whether they are academic, personal ones, that doesn't matter. It means that we should think beyond the traditional exchange concepts of a semester exchange, a year exchange. That means provide more flexible and more inclusive mobility opportunities, whether they are physical, whether they are blended, whether they are purely online. The paradigm of mobility has changed since the pandemic, obviously, and we want with Enlight to offer a more diversified menu of mobility opportunities, which students can freely choose, accumulate, combine, and we would really welcome the fact that the Erasmus program would follow this diversification of mobility opportunities. The Blended Intensive program was a gift from heaven because it allowed us to build in an international track in the framework of one course, an online pre-trajectory, then culminating in an intensive week, which was very attractive for students for whom the classic Erasmus exchange is not an option. But beyond that option, beyond that format, there's a whole variety of options. Last week at the EAC meeting, I heard somebody saying about the virtual intensive programs. Well, that's an interesting opportunity. But there's also summer schools and a whole variety of short-term mobility opportunities, which the current Erasmus program is not taking into account, or at least where support for students is not yet possible. This is both attractive for our professors, both for our students.
Thank you so much. Okay, it's working. Thank you so much. And I have to say that throughout the meetings that I've attended last week, I think one of the most interesting things that the Alliance can bring to the audience is this concept of seamless mobility. So actually to support the students and to support also the current mobility opportunities to support to break out the barriers that actually we present earlier to the SN survey. So I think it's not taking down the current mobility opportunities. I also heard that the alliances are taking down the Erasmus Plus funding. I think they're actually supporting each other and to grow together to mobility opportunities and also to bring flexible learning paths, like you were saying, with the micro-credentials. Also, I heard that University of Ghent is doing something called the Living Labs with the students. This is something that we welcome, new opportunities also for students to learn and to learn in different perspectives. So now, thank you so much for your contributions and for bringing your perspectives to the audience. So now we open to the public. So who has any questions for our panelists? Okay, maybe I have to give my microphone away, but...
Yes, I had a question for Gijs about the alliances. So you said you're now at a critical point where you've had your pilot phase within a small group within the university, small body of students and a small body of professors. What tips would you give student representatives to help upscale acceptance towards the alliances on the professor side? Because we often find that they do not always want to jump on board.
Well, you're now just summarizing the whole challenge that we're facing. There's two sides to that. First of all, we still see that the concept of the European University, but by extension, let's say, international education in the widest sense, from mobility to online courses, that this is still something very unknown to students. I think, yeah, at some point we need to brand our alliance, but it's all about branding mobility opportunities. And I heard last week somebody saying, what is not communicated does not exist. So we still see that a lot of the students, of course not student representatives and people here in the room, but we still see that a lot of students do not know about the opportunities that they can engage with. So that's already a major start. It's not uniquely linked to the alliances themselves. And then for us, okay, we had what we could rely on a few professors who were really already into international education and who were willing to develop the new courses. We invested now almost half of our money, of our project money, in incentives for professors to make it attractive for them to apply the concepts that we developed in their courses. So we're especially looking at them, but in the second instance, we're looking at our student body, who are the best ambassadors to promote what we have developed. And reaching the broader student communities is also a challenge for them. And that's where we will support them with communication tools. So I think the second phase now will be the proof of the pudding, so to say. It's reassuring that everyone who developed a course or who was involved in a course sees the added value of Enlight and is very enthusiastic about the fact that we're breaking down the barriers of classic education. So that's reassuring, but the challenge now is to reach the broader group.
Yes, I'm sorry, my microphone there doesn't work. Is there anybody else has any other questions? Yes.
Okay, so yes.
If I can help, if I can ask for this microphone to work.
Yes, no worries. I was about to ask if anyone had questions, so yes.
Yes, I think it also ties nicely into the last question about reaching that broader audience. I was curious, I'm not sure if you know, this question for the Coimbra group. So for the ASN survey, we I have the numbers in my mind for 2021, and we see that most people study business, but then there's like a huge gap between like people that study ICT as IT related things or like STEM fields. Does the Coimbra group know how many people are like actually going on exchange in the IT-related fields? Because from history, I didn't know I can go on exchange. I knew it because I met exchange students, and then I was like, "What? I can't go on exchange?" I didn't know that because it was not promoted in my bachelor's and in my master's. I had no idea, and yeah.
So this is also a challenge for the Coimbra Group universities, that we try to promote internationalization among the students and the professors, but not all of them are open to doing new things and to open to the world. So that is why we count on the students to be the best ambassadors, because if one goes on an experience abroad, they will have something to tell to the others when they come back. And we count on these new ways of learning also to influence others, and it will generate a ball of neve. Snowball. And concerning your question, we knew, in fact, We had a very thorough survey when we did it in previous years, but then we have lost this statistician that was doing it with a lot of, he retired, and we did have numbers about the subject areas. But it's true that there are areas where it's easier to go on a mobility because there's also costs associated if you go to a lab, to these more technological fields. And we are trying recently, because we have an SSH, Social Sciences and Humanities Working Group, to promote, and another one called STEM on your fields. Oh no, you're from history. Yeah, that we're trying to promote specifically in these fields, also for women to go on the STEM field, but SSH as a field that is a bit forgotten. So we're trying to promote it as much as possible, and also to promote mobility specifically in those fields. But we don't have the numbers for the students going abroad, and I don't think we target our strategy on a specific field, but we have these specific fields where we see that that's why we created the working groups. There are some gaps that we might invest more in. So that's our contribution.
Yes, Katrina, you wanted to react also? You can, the fellow panelists can also react to the other questions. You don't need to limit to one.
Yes, I had a second question to Johannes. So how can higher education institutions kind of do better, or how can we play a part of, because as far as I understand, my mobility choices were Nordic countries, basically, because of they make contracts between them, and then I can study something. And I wanted to go, for example, to Denmark, and then they didn't realize, oh, the contract is expired, and I can do something different. So I couldn't do cybersecurity, I needed to do this, but they didn't know about it. So how can they better connect with other universities that we have more opportunities? Does there need to be lobbying from ESN side, or how does it work that universities have better mobility opportunities?
Well, we leave it up to the autonomy of higher education institutions to conclude interinstitutional agreements for study mobility. A larger, like comprehensive universities have hundreds of these, but of course they have hundreds of study programs as such. So you can imagine it's already difficult to manage this high number. That's why we also propose digital institutional agreements to facilitate this. Well, I think students have to look at what the university or higher education institution is offering already when they sign up, when they enrolled in curricular and study programs. On the other hand, Denmark is a specific case. You know, they're suffering a bit from over-demand. But don't forget, you also have the possibility of doing traineeships, and there you are really open, much more open. I mean, you can go to basically any organization, any country in the world if funding is available. So you have much more opportunities, and there you can find the host organization yourself most of the time. Yeah, otherwise, yes, you can always suggest the International Relations Office or to your faculty or department to enter into new exchanges for study mobility opportunities, of course, but you have to be very motivated to do so. Yeah, or you do a degree in mobility, simply, to your choice of institution. You can do a master's in your preferred institution. So you also have the choice, not only, from grad mobility, but also degree mobility. Hope this helps a bit.
Yes, thank you so much, Johannes. I will eventually ask for technical help because I think I pressed a wrong button, but we will go forward this panel and then we ask for the technical help. So is anybody else has any questions or any other, the panelists would like to intervene? Katrina, go ahead.
Comment on the questions that you had. For one, for knowing about these opportunities, we're looking into having more, at least what we call as multiplier effects. It's both not just looking at the students and the ambassadors, different ambassador programs that are in place for specifically the students, but also looking at how different actors within the higher education community can serve as multipliers. For example, staff themselves, both academic and non-academic staff, and how they can support and amplify these opportunities, both in establishing new partnerships, new cooperations, and by that you might find more opportunities and more destinations to go to. If your staff, the teaching staff or the academics were also involved and they knew what's around, and they would create these links between the education institutions. And then when we look at different possibilities, that you said that the interinstitutional agreement had expired. And there we come back to a very difficult discussion, maybe, and a more technical one is about the use and the proper use of the existing technical tools for the education institutions, and how interinstitutional agreements could be very easily tracked and approved online with the tools available for the higher education institutions. But then we see that those are not mandatory in the current, at least in the current Charter for Higher Education, even though there was a glimpse that it might be at one point, but it's not at the moment. So we also need to be more ambitious in what we're providing and asking, and what we're monitoring and checking for different online tools and different solutions provided actually by education institutions for education institutions, and how those are used. One of them would be Erasmus without paper, of course, but we can look beyond that and look at different policies and different initiatives that are out there. And yes, and even in this morning we were having consultation with the Commission as well, and the same discussions come back again, how we can use the tools and the initiatives that already exist to the fullest extent. And this is again one of those topics where we come back to this discussion. This issue probably would not have happened if they, of course, wanted to continue this cooperation with the Danish institution. How proper use of the provided tools could have avoided this issue for the students who wanted to embark on mobility, but agreement had expired.
Okay, thank you so much. And Katerina, I don't know if you want to jump in here. So actually, all the Coimbra group is using here the digital tools, but all the tools that you already are using. You said that your exchange group is working on this. I don't know if you want to contribute for Katerina's question.
No, so we're a group of universities, so we don't deal directly with we just hear from them, their complaints. And indeed, one of the conclusions that we mentioned in the midterm evaluation is the technological aspect, because there are different constraints and some of the tools are not ideally working already, and it has been a process and they have been improving, but it's still not ideal. So, and that is affecting not only the time consuming, because it's time consuming too, but also the OL. I have it written, but the beneficiary module that someone mentioned in the just after lunch when there was this Slido question here is also, there are some difficulties in there. And another aspect which is also bringing more conflict or difficulties to the mobility is the fact that several different national agencies have different ways to work and different criteria and different demands, and this is making it difficult because it's not centralized in the Commission. It's each national agency in each country has different ways of working and evaluating and everything, and this was another big complaint. We also thought that the BIPs, the blended intensive programs, are really a nice gift from heaven, as you said, but yeah, and there's also an added work there, because there's a lot of work around making a new kind of mobility with a new type of requirements, and each national agency also there has different criteria for the students to take part. Then, yeah, the issue of the top-ups, which we of course, we appreciate. It brings more work because it's the top-ups of different top-ups that you need to fill in the tool, the technical tool, and it will bring more work for your team if you work in an international office. And that's it. Just to say, in regard to this question, just a small detail, that I was working before coming to the Coimbra Group, I was working at the International Office of the University of Coimbra, and before that, I did my Erasmus 1,000 years ago, and my choice was not even based on what was open for me. It was really, there was only this vacancy after all the ones better students selected. It was, you either go to Madrid or you go to Madrid, and I was, okay, Madrid will do. So this was my criteria, because there were not enough agreements between universities in this subject area that I studied. Just another.
Thank you so much for your contributions. Is there anybody else has any other questions? Okay, Nathan?
Yes, I have a question for you, Gakai. So firstly, thank you for speaking about the problematics of non-EU countries, because that's something we don't hear a lot, and that's important to raise awareness on this topic. And my question would be about what would you think is the role of ESN Turkey, of ESN, of other organizations in advocating and like raising awareness on these problems to the externals? And maybe how do you see like ESN Turkey involvement in the future? Or do you have any plans, to advocate for changes?
Thank you very much for the question. I think like this is a great example of what ESN can do. Like we are talking with the stakeholders and we are actually raising an awareness to everybody and reminding ourselves as well that it's an issue, and if there is any chance that it should be talked about, not should be just put under the table. And it's not only about the visa issues. When you say like European Union countries and just support the mobility within this frame, there are some countries like United Kingdom that they also feel sometimes excluded. I mean, not in a bad way, of course, not on purpose, but they may also would like to be feel their sorry. Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about the student perspective. What I was gonna say, this is important. And other than that, we were actually in the beginning of our mandates, like this year, we were talking with Rita about some visa issues that we wanted to raise some awareness. And I don't remember which paper it was. I'm sorry, but Rita, as ESN International, they were also, giving some ideas about raising awareness on this issue, and they were, I think, some official policies. This is really amazing to see the support from the international level, from the headquarters, because other than that, we cannot go, anywhere. Also, there are some questions on the ESN survey that the people answered about the visa issues and the residence permit issues and everything, and we can see, we can use the data. That's what we are going to do actually as ESN Turkey for advocating it firstly to our national agency, and we have a close connection with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in our country, so that we are planning to also establish another internal survey, I would say, just on visa and how it affected the mobility, of the students. But also we want to apply it to the ESNers as well, and also European Solidarity Corps too, so that it will be a broader sense. But it will be something internal to go to our own internal stakeholders, and maybe with them we can bring it to a higher table. So these are the plans of my NO, and as I said, international is already supporting us on this by their work or by including us here all together.
Much, Gokai. Thank you so much to all for your questions. I have one final question, then we wrap up, and then I hope that you can be short on your answer. So, of course, that we are now launching this campaign, The Future of Erasmus. The future is Erasmus, and we also want to hear what is your dream for the next program edition. So, starting with Gokai until Johannes. So, what is your dream for the next edition of the Erasmus Plus program? We are now collecting feedback from everybody, so we are very interested to know.
Okay, to be honest, we are dreamers, and I think we are talking about this a lot. The first most important thing for many of the students, I think all of them is better financial stability during their mobility. Of course, we can be creative and come up with other dreams as well, but the first one will be definitely the financial status, the grants that the students are getting, the timing and everything, as you said during the ESN survey results in the morning. And the second thing will be inclusivity, as I talked today, not just for the visa issues, but also for disabled people or people from rural areas or people with maybe some other problems that keeps them away from the programs, to make it more diverse and to make it accessible for everyone. These are two of the biggest dreams that I would say that I have.
Thank you.
I think most of us will go towards saying that we want inclusive and without any barriers mobility for students. But if we're looking at more practical or more concrete steps, first and foremost would be the financial barriers to be removed without a doubt. There we can go into a lot more details, whether that is regarding how much they are receiving, when they are receiving the funding, how granular that is, how supportive of different disadvantaged situations that is, and how we're seeing all the non-traditional students being involved in the program. But then we also need to look at high quality mobility and impactful mobility as well. And here we go into more of a discussion of how we can assure that now that the universities have the necessary resources at their hand to work not just on the administrative part, but assuring that all of those cooperation agreements are towards assuring that the highest degree of quality, the most impact, that benefits the student both academically but also towards their intercultural competences, and how well prepared the students are, both prior their mobility and also afterwards, how they are reintegrating into the community at their home institution, and how they're bringing back this experience that they've had abroad. It's not just that they have gone somewhere, stayed in their small community, but they have really immersed in the culture. And third, probably would be going towards a more sustainable and green program in general. First and foremost, looking at the green travel and how we can enhance that. We are hoping that the current changes to the program guide will aid to that, but I think we can be more ambitious looking at that, and this goes well beyond what just the Erasmus program can do. But also how, for example, you are working a lot more with EU Rail, but how these connections also need to be there in place, and they need to be reliable and affordable for the students to be able to do that. And then a lot of work also, what you have in great detail also explained through Green Erasmus project, for example. But also there are a lot of different initiatives that go beyond the sustainability in travel, but also in sustainability in life, and how Erasmus experience can also then change the lifestyle of the students and the communities around them.
Thank you so much. Katarina?
You have to stop stealing so many ideas.
It's good, it means cooperation, huh?
Yeah. So I would say that the next ideal program for us would be with more money and less burden, administrative burden. That would be the ideal. But also something that I didn't mention here, we're very engaged with civic engagement. We want the students to, when they go on an experience abroad, it's not just to go there and be there studying. It's really to get involved in their local community and have, voluntary work, really immerse in the place where they are. And we would like to see as many students as possible to go on this experience, to have this opportunity. And we know that nowadays we are a couple of privileged part of society, and we would really like to see that people with less opportunities, with disabilities, with difficult family situations could also benefit from this experience abroad, because it is proven that someone who goes on an external experience, on an exchange, brings more openness, is a person who is more inclusive, who is a Democrat, he fights for democracy and values that are not even all European, but even world values. So I think that the ideal would be to have as many people, not only students but staff, also to go abroad and to have an experience and to open their horizons.
Thank you. Oops, the conference is really coming to an end, so it's okay.
I think I will repeat a lot of the ideas, but maybe in some other words then. Just because we find them as important as an alliance as well. So it's a dream of our alliance, and by extension for the future program is to be able to offer really all students the opportunity to benefit from an international learning experience. And we can talk about skills and competencies, but what matters is that it has a positive impact on their immediate study career, but also their later professional, maybe their personal life. And it's all about enabling us as institutions to support students to make this choice in the most flexible, the most personalized way. Students should be able to choose. That's for me the most important thing. Reducing barriers, whether they are administrative, academic, social, maybe even economic. I think we are willing to do so, but then we also have to look at the perspective of the staff. If they are empowered, if for them the barriers are reduced, then this will have a positive impact on the students as well.
Thank you so much. Last remarks?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I share the dream that you all have as such. Even though I'd like to do, let's say, 3 Fs to conclude. Of course, we want to have more funds, at least to continue the level of student mobility that we will achieve in 27-28, because we also have a very ambitious benchmark in higher education that we proposed just recently of 25% of master and bachelor graduates as such, and of course 50% within the European University Alliances of any kind of mobility, and yeah, I fully agree. I would also say, as was mentioned here, and I had discussions as well, there should be more flexibility in what students can do abroad, not only in terms of formal learning, but also informal learning, like civic engagement, in what is recognized by the professors. So, and mobility windows would certainly help here in this respect, because we want to kind of have full recognition of all mobility periods. And last but not least, it was also mentioned, interestingly, is I would think that the same number of male students and then female students should go abroad. Right now it's 40-60, and well, we should also take care of underrepresented groups, underrepresented study fields, like you mentioned in the STEM field and other fields as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much all for this fantastic panel that we had here today. It actually started our initiative, The Future is Erasmus, so we hope that we count on you for many other of these panels and initiatives that we're going to have throughout, hopefully a good result for the next program. And a big round of applause for this very good panel. And now, Sarah, the stage is yours once again.
The stage is mine.
It's not very convenient.
Rita. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the panel, and we are slowly going to the end sadly, of this conference. But last but not least, as promised, we will launch this campaign called The Future is Erasmus, and that's why I call on stage William Gabriels, the director of Erasmus Student Network.
Perfect, thank you. I'm also going to try and do the presentation from here because it's a bit more interactive, although the lights are quite blinding. We had now, in the morning we talked a little bit about civic engagement and engagement, and for us, student engagement is an important component into making sure that when we are creating the future of the program, that student voices are being listened to. And then in the afternoon, we talked a little bit about innovations in the current program, but also maybe visions for the future. And this is kind of the topic that we want to bring today. Because I also wanted to, before we start that, I'm an ESN dinosaur. There are a few more in the room, but some of others might not have heard of the concept that we did back in 2018, which was the Erasmus Upgrade Manifesto. And the Erasmus Upgrade Manifesto was also a collection of consultations that we did as ESN, and it was, since then we've actually been continuing doing the Erasmus Upgrade event, bringing everybody that is working on education on the national level and sometimes even local level together for an event to understand and to see how we can improve the Erasmus experience. But this first event created a manifesto that was putting together 14 proposals in order to increase and improve the program as it was. And as a component of that, ESN also joined the Erasmus Times 10 campaign that was led by the European Youth Forum and the LLLP. And there we advocated, in light of the next MFF, or well, actually the current MFF, in order to make sure that the budget was not doubled, that as we saw it today, but actually times 10. And we can say that at the end of the day, we were in certain cases successful. It was very nice to see also the Commission recognizing, some of the work that we are doing in the reviews and in the materials that we produce. And in other cases, of course, sometimes you have to ask for 10 times more money to actually get the double of the money. That was part of the strategy, I think, but so part of the questions that we now need to start asking ourselves, what do we put forward as proposals in order to make sure that the new program recognizes student voices and make sure that the budget or the requirements that we might put forward to that are recognized in the next financial framework. So two other components that are also on the table and that I think are really important for us to mention is, of course, the midterm review. It was mentioned before. We have contributed and we will continue to contribute and react to the current implementations. It is very nice it's very nice for us that we see the voices of students being listened to when it comes to the grants and how the travel grants, something that we've been requesting for, is something that has made it into the new program guide. It's a bit more worrying to then see that this is something difficult to implement, and how do we make sure, that the student voices are also listened to, because I think if you would ask in the room, people would be very supportive of this change, and then we need to make sure that this change happens. And then there is also the proposal for a council recommendation, Europe on the Move, with learning mobility for everybody, that is being tabled by the Commission and that needs to hopefully be approved under the Belgian presidency by the Council. And there, which is also an important document for us because it really highlights new indicators and targets that have been set for mobility, mobility at large, but also for students with fewer opportunities to make sure that those numbers are increasing. And we've seen in the past that these targets are an important component to make sure that mobility stays on the radar, and that this will later on also hopefully, help us improve our demands for the future of the Erasmus program. But and we have already heard it also from Michael, that after the European elections, a new commission will be appointed, and I think then the attention will start shifting onto what will come from the next MFF, what will be in the new program. And I think it is important that we not even question here what is the future of the program, but for us, we really want to say the future is Erasmus. There is only one way of moving forward, and that is making sure that the program is continues to be empowered to be the future of the educational programs that we as Europe see. And we want to kickstart this campaign here today. We had a first panel here, and of course there will be many more things that we will be sourcing into a new report that we'll be launching. So one of that will be, of course, using the ESN survey data and the local dialogues that Sabri was mentioning earlier today. At the same time, we have also quite a lot of innovative projects that work on, we mentioned it before, Green Erasmus. We had the SEAM project on inclusion. We will have a second project on inclusion. We have a project on traineeships, etc. So we are trying to continuously push through projects initiatives the agenda of the Commission, national agencies, and higher education institutions. And then we will also have, during the Erasmus Generation meeting, which I hope I will see many of you as well, to have sessions and discussions with many students and universities to talk about what do we want to see to be changed, and we will have rapporteurs who will come back to us with those results, and all of that will be put together into one final report that we hope to see and present in fall 2024. After Michael's presentation, we'll also make sure that we, put our timelines more in line with the Commission ones. So that's it was very good to get this interpretation. And we also, of course, want to work with all of our stakeholders to make sure that we put together a campaign like the Erasmus times 10. And that's maybe the final comment that I want to share, that we're definitely open to continue these type of narratives with stakeholders as well in correlation with our report. And I think with that, I have concluded what our vision is for moving forward and to setting up the future is Erasmus.
Thank you so much, Wim. So this time I will also come here in front of you to learn more from you and to know about what are your main takeaways from today's conference. So you can join here at Slido. I'm sorry, I promise this is the last slide of today. Okay. EGIA, Erasmus Generation in Action. Hope. Nice insights to gain students' engagement. It takes working together. This will be like a really good sentence to say. Perspective of non-EU countries. Future is Erasmus. Info sources on elections. Inspiration, we start from where we conclude on how we started. Basically, great insights. ESN card, well, we never forget about the power of ESN card. ESN survey, our beloved ESN survey. Learning programs, empowerment, great insights. And while you are all typing, I would ask also to some of you here in the audience if you would like to share some thoughts about today. Anyone wants? If you want, like, just raise your hand and I will pass the mic to you. Yes, Rick.
I think, in my opinion, we really need each other in the coming years to make the Erasmus Plus program more sustainable, more inclusive, and more participatory. So these kind of events really empower all the stakeholders to think about the future, that we have much more opportunities for mobilities, the BIPs, the cooperation agreements, that we really need each other to make the future, because now is the moment to shape the Erasmus experience for future generations. So I hope we can continue this momentum and work together so that every student can have this opportunity of the Erasmus generation.
Anyone else wants to share some takeaways from today? How was the day? Yes.
Yeah, I think also as mentioned in the Slido, it's very good to get those insights and to also see how the work that we do in ESN also compares to the work that other stakeholders do, and what maybe gives us ideas also for the national or the local level or international level on new projects, new ideas, how to work together, who to reach out and who to incorporate. And I think on the other hand, also what we've seen today, or what I think we all can take away, is also in mind with European elections or any kind of election, that we can change something and how to change it, and yeah, all the ideas and dreams we have. Great, okay.
Thank you. I think the conferences like that are helping us a lot to create a bridge between us and the institutions, because we have the papers, we have the websites, all the information there. Of course, it's really important to go and read them. To be honest, it affected me in this way because I was going to be on the stage and I was going to be also, joining the conference. So I went through deep, to get the information about all the institutions, all the stakeholders. Even you may see on your LinkedIn that I visited your profile because I was going through the people. This was amazing, but having them here face to face and just exchanging ideas, hearing from them, and knowing that you're being heard is really amazing. And this is the real thing that we actually need sometimes, because we do social media campaigns and everything, but then are we really targeting the right area? We don't really know. But when we are here with the institutions all together, then it's a real bridge that we can depend on and we can rely on. Thank you.
Okay, so well, thank you so much. I see more answers coming, so continue, and we will also maybe take a screenshot to remember all the feedbacks from this conference, all your takeaways, and actually like how, if it matches also the expectations from today. So we'll come back to the stage for the last time, actually. And now we'll finally have the closing remarks from Rita, another time. Yes, from Wim. The dynamic duo. So both of them. Yeah, this conference.
Do you want to start? No. Okay. I think it's on. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. I think it's first of all, it's an honor to talk about student engagement for a full day, and for talking about what we want for the future. I think it is very important that we continue to look forward and to try and be innovative, but also try and see how we can come to agreements. I think hopefully it was inspirational also for everybody from the national level to see how we can work with European stakeholders. But I think one of the other key components to really take home is that many of these decisions are also taken at the national level, which means that we really need to try and continue to put pressure on our national stakeholders, whether it is politicians that are now going to get elected or not, and our ministries of education and national agencies, because when it comes to shaping the new budget and shaping the new future of the program, their voices will also be very important, and making sure that those voices have heard student opinions before that will be key in order to make sure that at the end of the day the changes that we want to see are actually included. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that in the next couple of months that will be upcoming, we can count on your support, making sure that voices are heard.
Yes, and to wrap it up a bit, what we've been saying, we are very honored to have all you here, not only the ESNers from all the levels, but also our stakeholders. I think in these kind of events that we actually see the power of engagement and the power when ESN started many years ago, actually here in Ghent, in one of these buildings around here in the city of Ghent, and where everything started, and actually the power of student engagement can lead, and decisions that ESN did many years ago led us here today. I have to say I'm truly happy to see many engaged ESNers here, discussing with institutions, coming to the stakeholders. They have no fear to ask questions. This is what we want to see for the future of the organization. And also our stakeholders here having also engagement with our members, asking the students' opinion, because with these bottom-up approaches, that good political decisions are made. You know, there is nothing perfect in this world, and also the program is not perfect. We are not perfect. This conference is not perfect. I just completely crashed the IT system of this conference. But also, this is our job to make things imperfect and to fight for them to be perfect. We are the students. We are the ones that need to have dreams. Even though we knock many doors and people say to us no, it's our job to try to make them perfect. And after the work is done, it's time for us to enjoy. And this is what we invite you to do, to enjoy us in the networking cocktail. So thank you so much, and hope to see you soon in one of our events. And I also want to big shout out to Sarah, because this was our first time doing this role. And because we believe in student engagement, we also think it's a good opportunity for Sarah to be here today and to have this role. I know she was very nervous, but I think you did a stellar job. And I think it's very good that we appreciate also our role and to be here for the first time doing this job. But that's it. Thank you so much. And please, let's enjoy the network cocktail.